It may be the smallest class of weaponry in Cyberpunk 2077, but LMGs are certainly not one to overlook. Potentially the most chaotic playstyle in the game now, with a handful of guns to choose from. I looked at the pros and cons of all of them to determine which is best. So let's get to it. The LMG build I used for this video is a crazy thing when you unlock everything, and a lot of fun. Best with 20 body, the Onslaught perk being a treat for late game that massively solves the slow reloading issue. Then I went with Air Dash, as I pretty much can't live without it, and afterwards Cyberware, Healing, and Explosive Tech perks. This build requires no attributes in Cool or Intelligence, so you can put the 3 used skills to 20 if you fancy. For the Relic tree, you want Vulnerability Analytics and Launch Capacity Override, and then we're into Cyberware. Practically identical to the shotgun build I did for that video, with Chrome Compressor affording all the cyberware we want. You can try a Sandeviston, but I found it slowed things up unnecessarily. Immovable Force is crucial to reduce our recoil, and can be stacked with Shock Absorber if you can afford it, though I thought that was a little overkill. Projectile Launcher is a massive support to this explosive build overall, with armor, heals, and damage negating cyberware, allowing us to survive the middle of the action near permanently. That's the important background bits, so now onto the guns. Down at the bottom, no surprise here really, we've got the Mk.31 HMG, whose existence in the game is often more a hindrance than a help. As a netrunner, I switch them off or over to my side, whilst as a techie, it's a perilous task to get there and manually flip the off switch. As a high body build, however, do not underestimate the power that ripping one of these off can do. And in fact, provided you're wielding it with the Like a Feather perk, it'll be no more cumbersome really than any other gun. Just don't pull yourself up ledges or get run over, as the HMG can't of course be transferred to our inventory, and is thus dropped when doing any of these things. I even tried to check if we could store one in the boots of cars for later convenience, but alas, no. This, therefore, makes them an impractical pain to use, as they first have to be ripped straight from the field of battle. I did, once upon a time during the Devil ending, pick up a bugged one from a drone, which triggered this chaotic mess and forced me to reload a save, so suffice to say that's not something you want to try and do either. Instead, let's just appreciate the HMG for what it is, an occasional bonus picked up, used, and dropped to utterly obliterate a room of enemies. It has about 200 rounds, which is larger than any gun we can keep, and they fire at medium speed with extreme power, basically lasting plenty of time to deal with all but the largest bases. Though when fighting the likes of Max Taxay, they certainly won't stretch that far. Take it up against other bosses and high-level enemies though, and normally obliteration will kick in at just below half health anyway. After all, it's enough bullets, and only one of them need to trigger the effect. Looking at the database, it's unsurprising to learn that this gun really isn't designed to be used by a human, and it's testament to the advances of Chrome and V's unspoken superpowers that such a thing is possible. Though in fairness, we're not exclusively capable of wielding this, and you will occasionally see beefy enemies marching around with one too. On to the weapons we can actually acquire to keep, and the lowest machine gun on this list for me now is the Defender. Generally the faster of the 2 main LMG models, with a higher base ammunition count of 80, but a much lower base damage than its alternative. In my well-specced LMG build, already equipped with the recoil-reducing immovable force, I first tested the difference modding this gun with Ready, Steady, and Focus Fire mods, only to find the recoil and spread of bullets to just go from good to marginally gooder, though it's still potentially worth equipping these on an LMG earlier on that you eventually plan to trade out. Instead though, I'd generally recommend things like Pyro to deal fire damage. Ricochet can be good in this case since it's the only ricocheting LMG, but to be honest, it was accurate enough that I feel Ricochet improvement is a little wasted. You don't really need to bother with Firecracker, as the alternative gun fires explosive rounds anyway. Though if you're sporting 2 of these LMGs, avoiding reload by cycling with shuffler mods isn't a bad shout. Alternatively, and this is especially useful in a 20 body build with the Onslaught perk or a level 50 Shinobi skill, taking Big Mag for 55% more ammo can mean never having to reload, as the gun will instead do that at 20% when neutralizing an enemy, or with Shinobi just air dashing. That's actually a super broken late game ability. Obviously 20% is higher when we have more ammunition, whilst in these instances the increased reload time of the mod won't ideally come into play. It's a top tier exploit, but prior to getting it, just use Shuffler. This all said, Defender specifically also has cons, with the lower base damage translating to be noticeably weaker on the battlefield. I've tested most of the weapons against max tax squads at this point, and whilst I succeeded here with relative ease, it did take a hell of a long time to drain their health, not to mention the big issue of running out of ammo. This is less of a problem against standard enemies, to be fair. They tend to drop plenty now, though law enforcement specifically annoyingly don't, meaning normally by the time the max tax squad arrives, we're all but out and have to rummage around for more. Regarding ease of use though, this gun certainly is that, and potentially a better choice in the earlier part of the game. And to acquire the crafting spec, just come to the weapon vendor at the Sunset Motel. With Phantom Liberty, we finally got an iconic LMG. Just a shame it's the less good of the two models, I thought, but actually the unique abilities it has do lean right into the merits of the Defender. Wild Dog is the third weapon of Colonel Kurt Hansen's loadout, though doesn't also have specific synergies with Bald, Eagle, and Fang. Fortunately, this is one we can acquire during the Firestarter quest, regardless of which choices we make. Just be sure to return to Hansen's meeting room on the way out if siding with Somi. You'll find the namesake Wild Dog is very fitting here, with the gun voraciously devouring through ammo continually more quickly with every successful enemy hit. Fire rate increases massively after extended fire against strong foes or large groups, with crit chance going up as well. Whilst the damage per hit isn't much improved from the regular Defender, that fire rate and eventual guaranteed crits contribute to a far higher DPS overall. And notice this gun also has an increased ammo capacity to 150, which it really does need when reaching such high rates of fire. The largest capacity of an ownable gun in the game, in fact, far higher than the other LMGs, which I realize are actually surpassed by the Hercules from assault rifles. Yeah, that thing could have easily been labeled another one of these. Also, with Wild Dog's ammo capacity though, it gels even better with the Onslaught perk and level 50 Shinobi, reloading, I suppose, 30 rounds with every kill, less than is often needed for a takedown in the first place. It does shred through total ammo even quicker than the basic version, mind you, what with firing faster. Though Wild Dog does have an ability to account for that as well. See, melees from this gun, when the magazine is empty, will deal a whole 200% bonus damage, making it arguably the best melee gun of them all. And via a combo of doing this and firing the projectile arm launcher at vehicles, I was able to survive against police and MaxTac surprisingly longer than I expected. Easier to take down regular enemies too, whom we can then hopefully restock heavy ammo from. So overall, despite not being moddable, it's a major improvement over the Defender, I'd say. Its speed and special abilities actually providing a great alternative to the #1 LMG. Which leaves the MA70 HB, the best model of which in most cases is its Xmod 2 variant added in 2.1. Overall, the MA70 is a far slower gun, both to fire and reload, than the Defender, but wins out easily on damage per shot and its range. Certainly my preferred choice of the two models in the later game. The increased speed and user-friendliness, as I said, of the Defender is possibly the better choice earlier on, but that ultimately is down to preference. This model packs just 60 rounds, but can be increased beyond 90 with a Big Mac mod. Again, potentially worth selecting if you have those high-level reloading perks. And when fighting MaxTac, their health bars were dropping notably faster, whilst the explosive rounds also appear to deal a small amount of splash damage too. And once again, the marginal recoil, at least once you have the appropriate cyberware, suggests to me that damage-based mods would be more worth it. I think explosive rounds can already potentially cause burning, but Pyro is merely going to increase that chance. I again picked up the crafting specs same as the Defender from the Sunset Motel weapon vendor. But for Phantom Liberty owners, come to about here in Dogtown to this chopper, pull back the corrugated requiring 10 body, or just 4 with griller arms, and you'll get a free and better version of this gun still. The Xmod 2, like I said, is the pinnacle of LMGs in my opinion, with even a few minor differences to its base version. A reduced ammo count of 50, even slower firing speed, but a much better base damage, range, handling, headshot multiplier, and the fact it can be easily upgraded to become even better. The slower rate of fire is definitely noticeable, but after a while I decided this was actually better for the gun, with its easier handling generally helping you to miss less anyway. With the bullets dealing more damage, that helps with ammo conservation, and the installed scope makes firing from a distance more user-friendly. But beyond all the stat comparisons, it just feels like the best performing variant of the best performing machine gun in combat. But before you get this one, and as soon as you find you're hitting with most shots shots from an LMG, at least take the base variant for the time being. It's not quite got the power of the HMG, but I suppose feels like a scrawnier, more sprightly younger brother. But what do you think? Perhaps you prefer the Defender's speed and ease? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you're curious to see the rest of the 2.0 rankings. Massive thanks to the patrons for supporting the channel. Go join the Discord if you want to chat some. Thank you for watching. I'm Bram, and I'll see you in the next one.